All right, so CNN has learned that President Trump is infuriated over a leak to the Washington Post. The paper reporting the president's national security advisors warned him not to congratulate Russian President Vladimir Putin on his election victory. But the president did it anyway. Let's discuss with CNN senior political commentator Jennifer Granholm and CNN political commentator Steve Cortes, a former Trump campaign advisor. It's good to have you both here.
Thank you.
Forget about, of course he's angry. Nobody likes leaks. You ran the governor's shop in Michigan. You don't like leaks. Nobody wants leaks. Okay. You never had a single leak. Not that you want to remember anyway. So let's talk about the substance of the matter. He has the call. He congratulates the president. The National Security Advisors didn't want him doing that. Why? Because they don't believe in the democracy of the process there,
right,
and because they believe that this man is actively inimical to the United States as a cause, and they wanted him to point some of those things out, and the president doesn't. Are you okay with that?
Well, I'm not okay with leaking under any circumstances, particularly when it regards to national security, because this isn't just bad behavior, Chris. This is a crime. And this has been happening throughout the Trump presidency, that highly classified, highly secure documents are being leaked to the media. So this needs to be figured out. Somebody needs to be put in handcuffs, quite frankly. So,
well, he's got to inspire more loyalty among his people also by maybe staying on message and doing what they advise him to do. How about that?
But he's the president. That's the problem there. That's my other issue, okay? The president does not take his orders from anyone, including even very important advisors like the National Security Council.
But do you like the call he made in terms of what he said to Putin and what he didn't say? Are you okay with that?
Well, we don't know exactly what he said, but, I find it ironic, for instance, he was asked about this yesterday in the Oval Office during the pool spray with Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and he was asked why he didn't criticize Putin. Well, was he supposed to also turn to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia and start immediately criticizing their civil rights record, their human rights record in Saudi Arabia? In other words, there's a lot of leaders around the world who don't operate by American standards. We know that. It doesn't mean that we can pick and choose the leaders of the world. It does mean we have to negotiate and work with them for our interests, including some really bad guys, and Putin's one of them.
Well, and clearly he's been doing that with Saudi Arabia all along, privately and now publicly. What do you think of this situation?
First of all, I think that I understand the concern about leaks, but I think the bigger issue is the fact that he would not stand up for America's interests when people here are being impacted today by the Russian intervention in our election, in our electric grid. What are the impacts that our allies are feeling? Because does he support NATO? Is he going to stand up for his strongest ally, Great Britain? What's the impact on staff? There's a reason why this leaked, because staff is horrified that he's not following their suggestions. How does this impact Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who has to stand up there and defend it? How does it affect Mike Pence, who today is giving a speech at the OAS criticizing Venezuela about having fair and free elections? So the impact on them, and then you look at the impact on the Republicans who were asked about this in a gaggle, yesterday, and they were like stunned because they've got to go out and defend it. Not just the ones who are elected today, but the ones who are running for office. It has a trickle effect that's terrible.
But I think, too, what I would defend, again, we don't know exactly what on the phone call. What I can defend, because it's known, are the policies of Donald Trump regarding Russia. We're constantly told by his critics that he's somehow a puppet of Putin. Well, he's not a very good puppet if he is, because what has he done? He's armed the Ukraine. He slapped sanctions on the Soviet Union, on Russia. He went to Warsaw and gave probably the most anti-Russia speech since the Cold War. So both in words and deeds, he's making life difficult for Vladimir Putin. So,
you believe that? You think that he's been too tough on Russia, or tough?
I mean, come on. I mean, Steve, why do you think he's getting all of this criticism? It's not just because people want to criticize Trump. It's because objectively, he has been in a bromance with Putin. He never confronts him face to face. He never talks about it. I mean, if you look at the readout of the two, you say you don't know what happened on the call. It's because the U.S. in its readout had 4 sentences. The reason why we know what happened is because the Russian readout was much more transparent. It had 11 topics that were discussed, a full 6 paragraphs. The bottom line is he, for whatever weird reason, or maybe there's something to it, he cannot bring himself to criticize Putin in the same way that he brings himself to criticize people like Kim Jong-un. He can't do it.
It's unfair to single out Russia. For example, he's had a lot of interactions with the premier of China, with Xi. I've never seen him publicly.
He has criticized. You go to his Twitter feed. He has criticized China.
He has not publicly criticized them for their human rights record, right? Which is demonstrably worse than Russia's.
And maybe he should. And maybe he should. But the point is, the leader of the United States has to set an example and set a tone for what we will accept around the world.
I agree.
We push democracy around the world. The fact that he attacked us.
That's why we're
It was an
arming
attack
Ukraine.
on us. It was Russia declaring war on us by attacking our election. He can't say anything about that.
I think what this is really about, and the reason that people focus so much on Russia, is there is still, there's almost a neurosis on the left. People still can't accept that he won in 2016, and they need to come up with an excuse. They need to come up with a boogeyman, with a scapegoat.
come on, Steve.
And Russia, sadly, for whatever reason, has become that convenient.
You can't undo the win. On none of this, nothing that's ever going to happen.
They're trying to. All I hear is resist and impeach. And
well, it depends on who the they is. You know, if you're talking about, like, big mouths on Twitter, who cares what they say? It's about, our official process and our institutions. We have a president. His name is Donald Trump. It's just unusual that this man will come after me for something that I say on a TV show when I'm, relatively inconsequential to him. But Vladimir Putin plays a stupid video with missiles crashing down on Florida, directed right where he spends most of his time in Mar-a-Lago. Not a word.
Right,
it's
Chris,
just
let me
odd.
ask you the question then. Why? Why is he?
I don't know. I asked him this morning to give us the answer. I don't believe I have any proof that Vladimir Putin has any kind of specific control over Donald Trump. But that's what makes his behavior so odd. Because this is a man who's always spoiling for a fight. You know this about him. It's what you guys like about him, but not with Putin. And that's why I'm asking him. Don't worry about arguing about Mueller. Mueller's not going anywhere if he's in his right mind. But why don't you tell us why you're doing this?
Well, maybe he hasn't gotten in a verbal fight. I'll agree with you on that. And I don't know if he should or shouldn't. That's up to him. We elected him to be
He could have slapped these sanctions on day one when Congress passed it.
He's gotten into a literal fight by arming the Ukraine, something that Putin hates. He also got into a literal fight by raining American cruise missiles onto a base in Syria where there were Russian jets. So this is not a man who's afraid to confront Russia or to confront.
Well, we'll see. He's going to have a chance,
Mueller
he says, upcoming, that they're going to meet. We'll see what he decides to do with there. If not only for his own personal interest, he's got to take care of his allies. And the UK has a serious beef with Putin right now.